Welcome. My name is Melissa Brannon, and welcome to our very first Food Prize University panel. We are so excited to be here today with you, and I cannot wait to bring up our panelists. First, I just want to thank everyone for coming today. We're so excited to have you, and I think we're going to really get into some great discussion today. And before we do, just a quick thank you to our sponsors that help make all of this possible. So a big thank you to Allen Energy Group, to Karen and Cassidy Phillips, to Coca-Cola, to The Cottage, Eagle Distributing, to Elizabeth and Alex Kennedy, to Gregory and Heidi Kallenberg, to the Poliat Group at Morgan Stanley, to the Remington Hotel and Suites, and of course to Rosslyn Charitable Foundation. We are thrilled to be here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up our panelists for the day. So first and foremost, I have with me Elana Horwich. Elana, I'm going to bring you on up. And I also have with me Josh Harmon. And you guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves. Hello, everyone. Josh, I'm going to ask you to scooch a little in camera view. And Barclay is joining us soon, folks. I know he's having a little bit of difficulty, but we want to go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is, Elana, I'm going to say ladies first and allow you to please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Elana Horwich. I'm based in Los Angeles. I am a teacher, really, first and foremost, but for anything else I am in the world. I used to be a high school history teacher, and then I became a cooking teacher. And I was teaching cooking for the last 10 years, sort of up until mid-COVID. I'm an author of a cookbook called Meal and a Spiel, How to Be a Badass in the Kitchen. And I like to empower people to live more connected, delicious lives.
I love that.
How's that?
That's perfect. That's a great start. Great start. And I'm also going to go ahead and pull Barclay up. Hello, Barclay.
Hey guys. Sorry, we had a fire in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Well,
not literally a fire, but you know, that's just a.
No, I kind of figure, I mean, like, isn't that the nature of the business, right? So.
Kind of, sort of. Hey, Josh. Hey, Elana. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
So nice to see y'all.
Just in time. We're just making quick introductions. If you would like to go ahead, and Josh, we'll finish with.
Did Josh already speak?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sweet. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh Harmon. I'm a chef in a couple cities, Dallas mostly, but I just opened a couple places in Mississippi. I don't know. I like to eat. I like to cook. I've been a part of the Food Prize for a while. I love those dudes and everything they do. So I'm excited to be here, and hopefully you guys got a bunch of questions I can answer.
I love it. And Barclay, welcome. And we're going to kick it over to you for a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Barclay Dodge, and I own Bosque Restaurant in Aspen, Colorado. We are a small little restaurant in the Rocky Mountains, focusing on the food that grows around us on the farms and in the wild. Like Josh was saying, I really love being a part of the prize here. We've always had a good time, and it's been a great group of people meeting up down in Louisiana every year. I'm looking forward to getting off of the virtual side of things and us all coming back together again personally. That'll be a great day.
Yes, I think we can all agree to that.
Yeah.
Well, just to give everyone a little taste of what's going on, we're going to have a quick discussion here. Please, while we're talking, if there's any questions that come to mind, be sure to put those in the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen, and we'll go ahead and get started. Really today, I kind of want to figure out, like, really talk about what this past year has brought, the challenges, the unexpected successes, and really where you think we're heading. So I guess the first question I would say is, you know,
Closing my door, sorry, it's loud.
I know, here we go. So the first question I would ask is, you know, if each one of you could kind of take us back to early 2020, like January of 2020, what was a typical day, a typical week like for you? What, if you want to talk about in terms of like your restaurant, where you were working, what you were involved with. Barclay, why don't we start with you?
Okay, so January 2020, I must say Aspen is in a very different position, I feel, than the rest of the country. And I see this with a lot of small mountain towns and more natural areas with less congestion. That's where people wanted to go during COVID. So, we did really well this year during COVID, actually. The whole town did. And then kind of to your question specifically, January, so we were busy. We came out of the holiday season really going strong. There were a lot of people in Aspen. We were very restricted to the protocol of COVID. We were at 25% capacity, which changed my restaurant from a 38-seat restaurant to a 12-seat restaurant. But we figured out how to financially get through that. And, I knew I had to make a certain dollar amount from every customer that walked in the door. That was mandatory. A popular thing in Aspen was doing minimums. So like if you were to go into a restaurant, it would cost you at least, let's say, $100 just to sit down and eat, whether you had a cocktail or whether you had a full-blown meal. And that $100 would go towards your meal. So what we did was we changed ourselves into just a pure tasting menu restaurant only. So 4, 5, and 7 course tasting menus. That way we were able to capture the revenue that we needed. And we knew we were going to sell those 12 seats twice a night. That was a given. So, and we did. So we did really well with that. But then we went into a 2-week closure. We saw it coming right after the holidays. Aspen became the 2nd highest county in the state for cases. So we knew it was coming. The county let us stay open during the holidays and just try to make a buck. But we shut down for 2 weeks in January, and that was a first seen thing. So it was an interesting early January, coming out of a very strong season, still doing well, and then having to go into closure. And we really felt like restaurants were one of the safer places to be. Instead of having people not able to go to restaurants that were at 6-foot social distancing and 25% capacity, which was and mask on and high protocol standards, they were then forced to go do house parties and go back to their hotel room and have it catered or have takeout. And the proximity was much closer for people in social settings. So we saw no outcome from closing the restaurants and the COVID drop. The drop actually started the day we closed. So it had clearly there was no, record of, proof of it being a closure of restaurants, but we reopened 2 weeks later and we went right back into a strong season. So we've been doing well, and it's something I don't really like talking to my chef friends about in the city because I know a lot of them are going through great struggles, and it's difficult. I don't really want to gloat about what we've been able to do, but it's just kind of the facts of small towns, and the Rockies did really well this year because of that. And I just want to be open and honest about everything that we're going through, and we actually had a good run.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unexpected news. Because you kind of hear a little bit of everything, but it's congratulations. For sure. I know that's not everyone's experience.
No.
Elana, tell us a little bit about, where you were at in January of 2020.
Yeah, in January 2020, I was on book tour. So I had been teaching in-person cooking classes for a decade. And then I finally I finally got it all together, meal and a spiel, how to be a badass in the kitchen. And I was very excited. I sort of had an extended book tour. So I don't remember exactly what city I may have been in January. I know that in March I was supposed to be in Toronto and it was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sort of in the hustle of this selling books. That's like exactly where I was. And I was coming up to the end of it at, around March. So that's where that's at. Yeah.
And what about you, Josh? Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I got my dates mixed up on that.
Were you thinking January 2021?
2021.
Yeah, we're talking pre-pandemic right now.
Pre-pandemic, I had no idea what was happening with COVID. We were just work as usual. Okay.
Got it. And what about you, Josh? I mean, like, I know, like, in January of 2020, you had so much going on. Tell us what you were up to at the time.
Yeah, well, we were about to open 3 new concepts in Dallas. We had just taken over the contract for the Belmont Hotel, which is kind of like a legendary hotel in Dallas, and we were gonna reopen the restaurant that was there under a different name called the Belmont Room, and I was gonna open my second location of my coffee shop inside the hotel. We were opening a Korean restaurant called Birdie Bao. It was like Korean fried chicken and steam buns and stuff, and we ended up opening that. And January was probably our, oh man, like we had only been in a few months, really. Maybe, I think we opened in October or November. And then by January, we've been open a little bit. And I mean, once we hit the middle of spring, we closed Birdie Bao. And we obviously lost contract with the hotel. The hotel closed down. And we shut down our coffee shop and our deli. That was about it. And then I kind of took a minute to breathe. I feel like a lot of chefs that got in this situation, it's the first time in a long time they were able to maybe hang out with their kids more than they normally did, or hang out with their wife a lot more, their girlfriend or significant other. And for me, it was, for the first 2 weeks, it was devastating. It was like, getting kicked in the chest. But then there was obviously some silver linings, me getting to see my family more. And, when you're in this industry, you miss a lot of stuff. You miss birthdays and weddings and graduations and all that. And for a couple of weeks, I got to do that. But then things got real. You have to figure out how to make money and pay for your stuff. So, to me, it came down to resorting back to what I used to do really well, which was pop-ups, private dinners. It was really safe to have some chef come to your house who's been quarantined for 10 days or who's, covered in a mask, and you don't have to go in the kitchen at all and, clean everything up and they bail out. It was a good gig. I did a lot of pop-ups, a lot of private dinners. And we were doing them in really cool places all over the country. From Philly to DC, we're in Cleveland, Alabama. It was cool, but yeah, I mean, obviously losing all the restaurants that I was opening was not so cool. And it's, yeah, in the beginning, it affected me, probably like it affected a lot of other chefs in terms of your mental state. All the stuff you've been doing for 10 years is completely game over. And it took a second for me to get used to it. And it took me a second to cope, to be honest with you. But once, I got to spend more time with, my sisters, my brother-in-laws, my everything, and my dad, who I don't ever see, it was pretty cool. I started to realize that maybe when we go back to doing what we've been doing for all this time, we get to change things a little bit. We get to tell the story a little differently this time. So
absolutely. I mean, for sure. I think it's certainly everyone having that chance to take a step back, reevaluate things, reevaluate what's been working, what hasn't. All of you, from everything I can see, everything we've talked about, this past year, all of you have been trying new things for sure, right? I mean, or at least testing different things. Elana, I will never forget, the very first Zoom cook-along that I popped in on. I mean, Zoom was still new, right? I mean, now we're all old pros, right? But, the very first Zoom cook-along you did out of Meal and a Spiel.
Yeah, that was, I don't remember the exact date, but I remember just, I have I have people that have been coming to cook with me for years, and not just in LA, all over the country. And, I remember just being like, oh, okay, we got to go to the market once every 2 weeks. There's all this fear. Can't go. I don't think we could get takeout in LA. So you can't even get takeout. I mean, for me, it's a no stressor. I'm like, fine, no problem, whatever. I know how to go to the market, buy food for 2 weeks, and then make food. And I just kind of like felt into the anxiety that like people were having, around that, like, how am I going to feed myself? And I was like, this is an incredible opportunity. Like, I have been telling you guys for years that you have to cook, like how important it is, what an essential primal, like, connection it is for you to have with the earth, with yourself, to be able to nourish yourself in order to be healthy. So yeah, I just felt like it was the perfect opportunity to open up and start doing Zoom classes. And like, actually I ended up getting picked up by CNN, which was like totally crazy. I don't know even how they even found me, but it was like, I must have really been one of the first people doing Zoom cooking classes or Zoom classes.
Yes, I will never forget the lessons of like, everyone just please put yourself on mute.
The first cooking class was like hilarious. It was like 80 Jewish women unable to mute themselves. Like, what? It's like, Auntie Marilyn, can you please be quiet? Anyway, it was very funny.
I know, Barclay, you, Bosque was running, I mean, almost the entire time. And I really saw a lot of things kind of evolve with the restaurant, what you were doing. Like, it seemed like at first, maybe like you had like kind of meals that were like almost ready to eat, like kind of people finishing them at home, like kind of a start of a meal or family meal style. Could you tell us kind of maybe some things that you went through at Bosque, kind of some maybe different things you experimented with?
Yeah, so during the first shutdown, the big shutdown last March, April, May, we received PPP money, and we had to use it, at least if you chose for forgiveness, we had to use it in a certain time frame. This time frame was while we were still closed for our off season, which didn't make a lot of sense for us to use the money. So I didn't want to have a loan, so I decided to use it then. And we went in, we reopened during a time that we would normally be closed, and just did takeout. And yeah, we did takeout like with instructions, we did a lot of the prep in the kitchen, and then we sent the meal kit to you and you finished it. And it was kind of cool because at first we started doing like Bosque food, and nobody really wanted that for takeout. And then we started doing ethnic food, and everybody wanted the ethnic thing. So, I mean, it was simple. It was like Taco Tuesdays, or like a Jamaican jerk night, or Southern fried chicken night, or Moroccan night, or something like that. And that was really fun to see, because that's what everybody in town wanted at home that night, was the ethnic stuff. So we didn't make any money doing it, but we didn't lose any money doing it either. And it kept the majority of my staff employed during the pandemic, the big shutdown. So that was really great. Yeah. However, the shutdown was also very, I think, fortuitous for a lot of people during the time, because they were receiving so much government aid. So a lot of people didn't want to go back to work right away, because the government aid was pretty strong.
Yeah, did you have problems? I know, like here, a lot of chefs that we spoke with were having problems getting people to come back. Is that something you experienced, or? Not
really. Bosque didn't. So we were able to keep up. Everybody, they wanted to work, really. They didn't want to sit at home. They kind of took their money, and first couple of weeks had a vacation, and then everybody kind of wanted to get back to work and get going. So I twisted their arm a little bit too.
What about you, Josh? I know you said like this past year you've been doing some pop-ups, but I know you've also recently popped on over to Mississippi. What are some things that have kind of, maybe some things you've been experimenting with? I know you're kind of a man on the go lately.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was kind of in the same boat that Barclay was talking about. Kind of like me, it was, I did the travel, I did the pop-ups and stuff, and I got to the point where I started to see some things start to, I feel like, go back to normal a little bit. Not all the way, but dining definitely started to happen again. And yeah, I saw a couple opportunities in Mississippi, came down here. We just got the first place that we took over within the last like 3 months kind of thing. It's a cool spot. We can only seat about 30 in the space, maybe less, 20, 28, because of everything that's going on. But it's been really fun, and we have a chef's table situation. So I mean, that's where we supplement a lot of the money, is for you to come in and sit down and watch us cook and blah blah blah. And for me, that's been huge. It gives an outlet for my cooks, and still able to put out the rest of the dining room for, you know, regular service. And it's been fun. And then yeah, we're about 2 weeks out of opening a taco shop down here, a taqueria called Rio Luna. And then we're opening a deli grocer situation called Locus Alley. But I'm still, you know, I have a really rad project planned for Dallas in the fall. And so yeah, I'm still, you know, I'm gonna kind of keep doing what I do, and try not to let stuff affect me too much, and just kind of try to push through. I think that, like I said in the beginning, it was hard for me, and finally I got to the point where I was, you know, I told myself, if we do things correctly, then we can keep, you know, we can keep pushing it a little bit. We don't have to like lie down and wait till it's over. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, we are starting to see things open up. You know, some states have like fully opened, no masks, no restrictions, just fully opened. Why don't each of you kind of give us a little, I guess, quick and dirty version of what's happening in your state? Elana, you want to start in California?
Oh yeah. My gosh. Well, skipping forward, I actually am a pandemic mover. Like I actually have some way through the pandemic moved myself out into the desert. So I'm living most of the time out in Joshua Tree. So I'm living like between LA, where I am right now, and Joshua Tree, which have like totally different like ways of being. Like we're in Joshua Tree. I think restaurants now are open for outdoor eating. I think they actually might even be open indoors. Like, forgive me that I've been like living out completely in the desert. I don't know. People aren't wearing masks. It's like very free. There's not a lot of fear. In LA, we're living with a lot more fear. It's a big city, and I honestly don't even know what the latest is. So
What about in Aspen, Barclay? I know that Aspen's definitely been, I would say more conservative in not politically, but more conservative in the restrictions, things like that. How are you viewing like Aspen these days? Where are we?
We've been very conservative. It kind of freaks me out when I leave Aspen and go to a place that's not conservative, because I'm just not used to it. I'm just conditioned because I'm always in Aspen. We're mask on everywhere, on the streets, in the restaurants, it doesn't matter. And we deal with so much international travel that, you know, we have mandates that you have to sign, affidavits to sign when you come to town and things like that. And there's affidavits at the hotels for tourists checking in. They weren't able to do like a checkpoint at the airport because it's FAA regulated. It's not a state thing. So we weren't able to do any mandates there. But it's been very tight, and it's just starting to loosen up a little bit, but we're still required to wear a mask in the general public on the street too. And it doesn't change. As far as indoor dining, they've given us a new program to work in called 5-Star, which is basically a higher protocol way of operating. And it's pretty simple because we've already been operating under that protocol anyway. So by doing so, by being a certified 5-star, we're able to operate one level lower on the dial. So if the state's at 25%, we can operate at 50, which has been nice. And it gives our customers a good sense of security, knowing that we're following these stricter guidelines on a day-to-day basis with cleaning and just overall mask wearing and social distancing and things of that nature. So yeah, we're still pretty strict about it all. It hasn't changed much around here. And we do have an older clientele or population in this town that's very, you know, nervous, and they don't go out at all. But the vaccine has made a difference. Definitely, people who have not gone out are now starting to go out, and they're making reservations and they're coming in for dinner. So I think the older population is pretty excited about getting vaccinated and not having to worry so much about getting sick. Yeah. We're seeing a change right now. It's a positive change, and you know, it's going in a good direction.
That's great to hear. And what about in Mississippi and in Dallas, Josh? I don't know how much you've been in Dallas lately, but I'm assuming you've been in Mississippi a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in both a lot. I just got back from Dallas on Saturday, I did a pickling class in at Profound Farms, and that was fun. But they're both very similar in terms of everybody knows Texas is wild, and they were like, no mask, open up all the way pretty quick. And a lot of the restaurants that my buddies own and a lot of restaurants that I frequent, you know, they still require you to wear a mask. So there it was more or less up to the people who were running the restaurants. You know, I know there's a couple dudes down there have lost their minds and are like, you know, letting you run wild through the restaurant. But for the most part, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, we still require masks at our place here in Mississippi, and a lot of the places in Dallas are the same way. But just like Barclay said, that's super real for me as well. I'm in a place called Natchez. It's called the Little Easy. It's about 2 hours away from New Orleans, and our clientele here is a lot older as well. And yeah, the vaccines we've seen a huge step up from the vaccine being released and people coming to eat versus, you know, them not having it. It's definitely creating a cloud of comfortability. So for me, I'm all about it. Let's vaccine it up. But yeah, we still require masks in our restaurant, but both cities don't require masks for you to walk around and stuff like that. So you just got to kind of do what you think's right for your business and for you. And for us, yeah, we require them for sure.
And what are you guys all thinking as kind of moving forward? Are there things that you like, maybe strategies or different things that you've employed this past year that you see bringing forward with you? Like, for example, I know here, I've seen a lot of folks move away from like a printed menu, you know, and it's become like a little QVC, like, you know, you can scan right there and you've got a menu in hand. And now you're not stuck printing menus if you have a rotating menu, or you're not handing them out and picking them up. Are there things that you've started doing this past year that you think you'll bring forward with you, whether people, you know, eventually we're back to 100%, we're back to no masks, things like that?
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, I think there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to change when we go back, but I mean, I'm a sucker for menus. I'm going to be devastated when they're all gone because I don't know, I just love them. Like I like to take menus with me and stuff, but yeah, no, I mean, I think stuff like that, and I think there's a lot of good that's come from us. Like I said earlier, I think there's going to be a lot of things that change in the kitchen and a lot of things that change outside of it. I think that outdoor dining and takeout has become a really big thing in our industry. Takeout's huge. You know, the ghost kitchen is alive and well, and people are rocking it really heavy. So, you know, I have a concept for a ghost kitchen I'm about to open very soon in Dallas. So I get it. It's like, you know, for me, I think moving forward, there's going to be a lot of different, but for me, the biggest thing I've taken is takeout. I'm going to be doing, you know, I've always wanted some good takeout restaurant, and now I finally get to do it and people are going to actually eat it. So it's pretty exciting.
Elana?
Well, I don't have a restaurant. I'm going to let you answer that, Barclay.
No, it's just for my restaurant. The changes aren't so much seen by the customer as they are seen by the business.
Mm-hmm.
And that was us, you know, we definitely freaked out last March, not knowing what was going to happen. So we tightened up, you know, all the nuts and bolts, we trimmed the fat, and I became a much better business operator last year. That's the biggest thing. And that's what has driven, you know, us being a profitable restaurant and not losing money during this situation. As far as, we're not a takeout kind of restaurant. We're doing takeout right now because people aren't going out to eat, but it's just not who we are. I don't foresee this becoming a new thing for Bosque. I think the biggest thing for Bosque is we've been able to really hone in on our cuisine as cooks and as a restaurant, and putting in a tasting menu that was very difficult for us to instigate over the last couple of years, and finally having a full season of doing it, and that's the only option, and seeing that it really worked. That's the change the customer is going to see going forward. But I think our biggest thing was just becoming better at running a business, getting through all this. And even with the PPP, I never looked at that as like like icing on the cake or anything. It's like that was just that was emergency fund that was used to keep employees around. We used the money for its intended purposes. So it didn't bring any more money to my bottom line because I really wanted to keep my employees intact. So that's where it went.
Got it. And Elana, as you said, you don't have a restaurant, but I know we've spoken, and this last year has brought a lot of change for you, like a big moment to kind of reset, if you will. Like, tell us what that's been like for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've made a big pivot in my life. I mean, I think probably like a lot of people, the first months of COVID were like super anxiety. I was kind of like working around the clock to try to keep everything going. And then I had well, it wasn't a come to Jesus moment. It was like, I just had to like admit to myself that I actually had another calling and that it was time for me to heed that calling. I've been working, I've been working with plant medicines for a couple of years now, and I had started writing a book. Like I thought my next book were going to be 2 more cookbooks because I have a lot of recipes that I'd really love to share. But I started writing a memoir. It's called A Jewish Girl's Guide to Ayahuasca, and it's a healing journey. It's a memoir. It's hopefully encourages and empowers people to like take their deeper truth into consideration and to go for it. And so I really had to like, it was a really, really hard thing for me to let go of because I was so attached to Meal and Spiel. I was so attached to my work and my career, but I knew that there was another like avenue for me that I had to like really give more time to. And like I said, I moved out to Joshua Tree. You know, it's a lot easier, less expensive than Los Angeles. I'm building a little retreat center out there. It'll probably take a little while to get built. It's the Wild West, not easy to get someone to come and build stuff, but like I'm creating a healing retreat center, and food will be 1,000% a part of that. I mean, food for me is medicine, and like I want to, you know, that will definitely be a part of it. But that's the pivot that I've taken. I haven't even like fully announced that to my clientele. That's just something that I really have gone inwards to just like be in this process and be with myself as I grow into it.
Got it. Well, you know, again, it sounds like that's kind of a running theme of just having this moment to take a step back, you know, to take a breath after the panic has kind of subsided a little bit. I guess my last question before we open it up to questions from our attendees is, where do you see restaurants heading, the food industry heading in the next 5 years? I mean, you all have a lot of experience in the industry. I've seen a lot of articles out there, a lot of people postulating, a lot of people making guesses, but you know, for you, where do you see your restaurant heading? Where do you see yourself heading? Where do you see the industry heading? Sorry, that's a big question. I don't
That's a big question.
just you know, no biggie.
Well, the industry in general, I cannot answer the question. The whole pandemic has been really wait and see what's around the corner and react to what's around the corner and try to make the best moves possible to keep your business going, because we just didn't know. It was so unforeseen what was coming. Personally, for this restaurant, I see us, well, we re-signed our lease, so we're going another 5 years. And I just see us continuing on in Aspen, just doing what we're doing. I don't see, after a pandemic, I don't see big changes in this town, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all gonna kind of go back to the way things were. The takeout thing is just not a huge thing here, and changing, you know, businesses and new businesses coming to town that are different, it didn't happen. I think everyone's really excited to get back to normal, kind of. I don't know about the rest of the country. You know, you said that people are postulating on what it's going to look like. It's so hard to predict right now, you know, because we just don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. What about you, Elana? What are you seeing?
Well, for me, I mean, I've been to Barclay's restaurant, and I totally understand why he doesn't want to turn it into a takeout restaurant. It's It's not bad, although in Barclay, I would love to be able to take out some of those tortillas. He makes the most amazing home ground tortillas. I would love to take out some Mexican food from you. I mean, I think takeout is going to be huge, to be honest with you. I mean, I have not had a restaurant, but I mean, I would love to have a partner that I could open up a takeout place out in Joshua Tree, where it would be kind of like Barclay said, like it would be like mostly cooked and you could finish baking it in the oven. Because I think Airbnbs like have exploded. People are finding new ways of going on vacations, and I don't think that that's going to stop now that they can go to hotels. I think people like having, like, they're realizing that they can take vacations like within a car, relatively near themselves, like in a home with friends, with family. And I think that people have become more travelers than they were, a little bit more adventure, a new type of adventure. So I think takeout, like taking out whole dinners, like that would be, you know, that's what I think we could see more of.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm weird. I'm a weird one. You know, for me, for a long time, the food I put out, you know, like especially when we had Junction, you know, obviously I got lucky there and we won some awards and stuff. But you know, I still on Friday and Saturday nights when I closed my, you know, fine dining 30-seat restaurant that was the menu changed every other week. Well, every Friday I closed at 11 o'clock. We'd pull a hot dog cart up front and we would sell steam buns out of it till 3 a.m. So for me, that style of cooking, there's very much so a passion for that style of cooking, for fast casual when everything's done super correct. You know, I mean, it wasn't like we were selling hot dogs and steam buns. We were selling, you know, koji cured pork chuck or like, you know, some rad budajeji in a cup. And I've always liked that style of cooking. I like both, you know, I like putting out, you know, I got a solid resume. I like putting out good food, but at the same time, I think that it's time that a lot of people got to see the side of cooking that, you know, isn't super glamorous and doesn't have to involve tweezers or my spoons, my collection of spoons, or, you know, I think that was a huge thing. I think people getting to slam out some mapo tofu on a to-go menu was really cool for me. It was cool seeing that. You know, it felt like something that other cities have been onto for a long time, from San Francisco to LA with the dudes at Love Hour to New York with the guys at Bauhaus. Like, I think that's a cool style of food, and I think it came up really heavy, and it's about to be a big contender in the way that you eat. I mean, if you look at France and Paris and what we all consider the bistro today, what was that? I mean, that was a way for you to get 3 courses for under $20, and you could do it in a fast-paced environment and then bail out. That's the same thing. That's how an entire generation of food started. And so I think we've kind of come onto that here in America now. You're going to start seeing some really rad restaurants that are smaller and are a little more fast casual, I think. And yeah, I mean, I think that this was a great panel because you get to look at dudes like, you know, Barclay, he's one of the dopest dudes on my Instagram. I'm constantly trying to see what he's foraging for and getting, and that was a big part of his career as well. But it's cool to be able to see where they're at and how they're just itching to go back to the way things were. I think we all are ready for things to go back, but I think at the same time we're all kind of stoked at the weird stuff that's happening, and I'm hoping it's going to keep happening.
I love that. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up. We definitely have some questions in the till. I don't know if that's an expression, but I'm going to use it. So I'll kind of start running through those. And again, folks, if you have questions, please take the opportunity. This is a great time, and just throw them in that Q&A box, what have you, and we'll start getting them. So the first one here is, have you noticed a drastic change in the way your customers engage with your businesses? And do you believe there's going to be a long-term effect in how you engage with your customers? It's a really good question.
That's a good question.
I'll let each of you take a turn at that one. Who would like to go first?
I mean, I got you.
All right, go for it, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of what I was just saying pertains to, I mean, if you own a fine dining restaurant, I think that being a little tighter, having a set menu that you control, and you can control the amount of people come in and et cetera. I think that makes people feel safe. You're gonna have a constant customer base with that, I feel like. And then I also feel like there's gonna be those people who still just want like their food dropped off at a door, or they want to grab it out of a window and not have to have any contact. I mean, I still see it right now. I will put out a menu for the week. We change our menu every week here at our place, The Kitchen, just depending on what I can get and what we're doing. And people will call in and they'll come get this, like, all these crazy foods that we're doing to go. And, I see it a lot more. And so I think that there's still going to be some cautiousness when it comes to customers. But I think that once people start to get their vaccine, and you have a place like Barclay was talking about, like Bosque, when you have a place like that in your neighborhood, you're gonna be there a lot more. So I think you're gonna see a lot more neighborhood client base. Like I think you're gonna see a lot more regulars, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I think you're still gonna see a lot of people that are freaked out and looking for a different way to dine.
Barclay, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, I mean, the biggest change I saw in our customers was the obvious. People were trying not to get COVID. So
Right.
a lot of people didn't come in. And, but at the same time, we have so many travelers coming to this town who were on vacation and didn't want to eat in their hotel room every night, and didn't want to do takeout to their Airbnb every night. So people went out. So we saw both sides of it. I think going forward, what we're going to see down the long-term side of this is, I think in Aspen, we're in a bit of a bubble here compared to the rest of the country. I think people are just going to start going back into restaurants. Again, like I said, the whole takeout thing it got big, but I don't think it became a mainstay. And I think overall the country has seen takeout and loves what's happening with it. And I thought what you were saying about the Airbnbs exploding now, and that's such a true point. And getting the meal that you can take back to your house and eat it. I think that would be a great thing to see. But I think for Bosque, it's not going to be a drastic change once we kind of get through summer and get back to some normalcy. We saw the big change happen this past 12 months, and it's starting to loosen up now. So,
Elana, I mean, do you want to weigh in? I know it's a little bit different situation for you, but I mean, certainly you still have clients that you interact with, and what are you?
I do. I do. I don't know that I have so much to weigh in right now, because like I said, I've been sort of taking, but I do. I mean, I will say that I think in terms of like teaching cooking, which is just like a very different, it's a totally different, I mean, it's the same genre, but it's an absolutely different industry than what Josh and Barclay are in. I think that I think people will want to come back into class, but I also think that there's a lot of opportunity for online classes. And I think that like not everybody, for me, it was like going all over the country, schlepping aprons and whatever. It's a lot. Like, I think that there's a way to actually, for people to learn how to cook from a teacher in Los Angeles, even if they're in Alabama or, wherever, Mississippi, wherever they are, they could. So I think that there will be even more. I mean, you can see it all over the place. Online education is growing. And I think that I think it's possible to actually educate well online. It doesn't always happen, but it's possible. Say that.
I like that. I think so too, as we're hopefully doing a little of that today and just like getting some information out there to folks. This one I think is a really interesting question. So one of our attendees is asking, how is it, what about for folks with like a mobile food unit or like a food truck? Like, do any of you have any sort of advice or weigh in, like for folks doing food trucks? I'm curious, but I know you guys have done. Josh question. Yeah, we're just gonna shoot that over to you, Josh. I know you've done so many pop-ups. You're a very mobile kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid question. I've never had a food truck, but I do a lot of pop-ups, do a lot of events. And I mean, a lot of that was closed down for a long time. It wasn't like I was going to any food and wines and doing, it wasn't happening. But I've done tons of virtual stuff for food events. I've done stuff for Food Prize virtually, and I think that's huge. But in terms of you cruising up to a park and selling food out of a truck, I don't know. I don't know how much that's going to happen. I think that you being able to go to a business and sell food, or maybe a church or something like that, I think that's totally viable. But I don't know. That's a hard question. That's not something I can really. It's kind of like Barclay was saying earlier. This thing it changes for us. We're all just kind of waiting and hoping things go back to normal and we get to do what we normally do. But we have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, this thing can mutate. People can start turning into monsters. I have no idea. I don't know what's gonna. I'm not like. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I know that I think that private events are going to be big. I think that when people, have a big group, and instead of packing it into a restaurant, there's 15 of you, I think they're going to start hitting up chefs out, or doing, like they said, picking up something that can finish in the oven, or even like for a birthday party, getting a food truck to show up the backyard. I think that that's going to be something that starts to hit different. But as for just, slapping in the streets, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I want to say that that'll come back, but it's hard to say with the way things are. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Alana, this one is directed straight to you. And
I could not weigh in intelligently.
this not about, this literally is an Alana question. It is literally written out. Alana, do you think you'll ever go back to cooking?
This is a question for me. Sorry.
Yes, Alana,
do I ever think I'll go back to teaching cooking? I'm assuming I cook every day. Well, I do. I just think it's going to be integrated with a more holistic approach to healing. So like I said, I'm building a retreat center, like a healing retreat center. I have a barn on my property. I'm putting a teaching kitchen in there. I have enough recipes to fill 2 more cookbooks, and I do not plan on dying without those getting shared. Even if I give them out for free, like I really love sharing what I have. I love that. So it's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of also having people know that, get familiar with the fact that, like, I'm not just the lady that teaches you chicken. Like, we're looking at like a larger life approach, and cooking is a part of that. So I don't exactly know how, but thank you for inquiring.
All right. This one actually kind of made my heart melt a little bit. What is the nicest thing a customer has done for you or your staff this past year?
Dang.
I'll chime in on that. We've had a lot of them, actually. It's a very supportive town here. Other than oftentimes when we were doing our takeout, my wife and baby girl would do the deliveries ourselves so we could go see the customers, even if it was just a conversation in the way. So we would do all of our deliveries. And if I dropped off a $40 meal, we oftentimes got a $500 check.
Oh my gosh.
Go to the staff or go to the business or whatever. But the biggest thing that happened was one small business here put together a gift certificate program. So you called in and you bought a gift certificate, let's say for Bosque. And they distributed the money to Bosque, but it exploded so big that he ended up collecting like a couple $100,000 in gift certificates.
Wow.
And of course, like all the big name restaurants in town got the main share of that. And then the little guys, like the places that you wouldn't really think of buying a gift certificate for, like maybe just like the burger joint. So they got so much money, and that they decided to go out to these other smaller places and say, hey, we're going to buy $1,000 in gift certificates from you. Here's the money. And then instead of that money going to, just to the guy who bought it, because so many people just wanted to donate to the cause and not really get the gift certificate back. They distributed those gift certificates amongst needy families in the valley. So that's and that was really cool, because it totally exploded and blew up and became this monster of a beast that they get so much money they didn't know what to do with it. So they just came up with this whole new side program that helped out the whole community. I thought that was the cool. It wasn't one person. Well, it was one person. It was Kenny and Robin Smith from Meridian Jewelers put this idea together. It was such a cool thing. It helped out every single person in the community in our business. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's actually.
That was a good one. It's just
like that take off.
It's like throwing a dart and seeing what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
We've all tried so many things during the pandemic to figure out what's going to work for us. And us as chefs and, restaurant owners trying to figure out what's going to be our best business model. And then these guys just pulled something. They were actually old waiters too. So they not any longer, they own a jewelry shop, but they knew the industry and they knew the people. Wow. And it stuck. They threw the dart and it stuck big. That was really cool.
That's stellar.
Yeah, I love that. Alana, Josh, you want to weigh in this one, or I don't know? I mean, like, can we top that?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the coolest one I've ever heard. I think we should just stick with that and bail out.
Well, I have one last one that I think kind of maybe takes this and which I just thought was kind of interesting. And I would love to kind of go out on this one. This past year probably has highlighted a lot about the food industry, about the restaurant industry, about the work, and really has been highlighted through the pandemic, issues that are happening within the industry itself. Let's see, here we go. What changes do you hope to see as a result of people taking more of a notice what it takes to really survive in the food and beverage industry? I'll give a moment pause.
Can you repeat that exactly? Can you repeat that, Melissa?
Yeah, so I think the question is kind of asking, this past year has highlighted a lot of issues within the food service industry, within the food industry, food and beverage, restaurant industry. As people have taken more notice, what do you hope to see kind of as a result of that? Like, what would you like to see as people take more notice of issues in the industry? What do you hope to see as a result of people like taking takeaways from that, I guess? Notice of what it takes to survive in this industry.
I think kindness is going to be a big one. Like a lot of times coming up in the restaurants, it can be really hard when you're a young dude. You're cooking at 2 places in Manhattan. You're making $12 an hour, $9 an hour, and you're working a lot. And some people don't take that in consideration. You're the dude, helping the dudes who cook the food. You're a prep cook or you're a AM line cook or something, and it's like you're not. I think that people are going to be a lot more I've seen that is kindness. People that, like Barclay said, somebody throwing you some extra money when the ticket's smaller, because right now people are, my mom was a server most of my life as a kid, and now people are trying to be, it's a forefront for them to try to take care of the people that are in this industry, which I'm loving. Like people tipping servers a little more, or the gift card thing. I mean, I think that's huge. It's going to change also the way that we are in the kitchen. Maybe I know I came from a really, I've cooked for a lot of chefs that are really hard to cook for, and I wouldn't be the chef I am today because if I didn't have that training. But I know that's going to change too. I know that, I think a lot of big chefs, we all have lives outside of the kitchen, and it was like, I think we all put that on the back burner to die for the best restaurant in your city. That was like what you did. And I think that's going to change a little bit. I think it's going to, a healthy work environment is going to be a big part of the future, which I think's super rad. And I think that the people that are involved with the industry, I think there's going to be a kindness factor that comes out of this, where people get to relate a little bit with you, because they watched you, they watched your dumpster fire of a life for a year, and they're like, oh man, this is pretty tragic. Maybe we should help out. And yeah, I think that's something that we've needed for a long time. Those are two huge things: healthy work environment and kindness from people who don't normally get our industry.
Elana or Barclay, would you like to chime in on the?
I'm gonna let Barclay go.
I like that.
A couple of things I've seen. One, the camaraderie within our town, in our industry, and nationwide in our industry is just so much stronger now. I think that has just been amazing. And secondly, I think that the awareness that I hope that the customer has about the restaurant industry now, and how hard this industry works for little money, long hours. And, there was a lot of stuff that the IRC came out with, Independent Restaurant Coalition, saying like, number one job for a single mom is a server, things like that. Like, our industry is built on the backbone of this country. And I think that people need to really understand that not showing up for your reservation is a big deal.
Yeah.
Coming in and being an asshole to your server is a big deal. All these kind of things. And we've seen a lot of changes with that, and I hope that continues. But I think the biggest thing is a respect towards the restaurant industry, because I've been doing this for 35 years, and I'm working harder now than I did when I was in my 20s. So it doesn't change. The workload doesn't change. We keep working hard. I think we're just slaves and gluttons for punishment in this industry. We love it so much. But that doesn't change, and the pay is still low on the totem pole.
Right.
Prices of food go up every year. I'll look at an old menu from 20 years ago that I cooked, and it's not far off price-wise from a menu that I look at today. However, the prices of the food and the transportation and the labor and everything have gone up exponentially. So I think respect towards the business and towards your server and towards the staff is a big deal, the kindness aspect of things, and just the overall camaraderie of us all coming together and trying to get through this pandemic. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think that's a great way to go out. And I cannot say thank you enough to all three of you for coming and hanging out with us this afternoon. Thank you, Barclay. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Elana. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. We super appreciate you coming here. And of course, thank you for throwing out these great questions. I do want to let everyone know, while I have you still, this is going to be a monthly series. We're doing Food Prize University. So our next series will be on Tuesday, the 27th, again at 2 p.m., where we'll be talking about the chef and farmer relationship. And then after that, coming up on May 25th, we are going to be talking about finding alternate sources of revenue for your restaurants. We'll be talking with folks about doing packaged goods. Like maybe you have like the next big food idea that you want to throw in a jar and sell. So we'll hope you'll join us for those. We'll hope you had a great time. Again, thank you to our panelists today. It's been great having you. And are we going to do this? We're going to Viva out, right?
Sure.
I say I have to, especially with you three. It's been like such a long journey. So on the count of three, a Viva la Food Prize, if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right, I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Viva la Food Prize! Thank you again, everyone.
All right, guys.
Bye. Bye-bye. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.